Nobody expected that right through the 90s and into this century, China would have such a run of success.
Well, China basically defies many of these predictions that if you don't reform your political system, then you will collapse.
There is a whole industry in the West predicting that China is going to collapse. What is ridiculous is that the people continue credibility. I mean, the most farcical is Gordon Chang, who wrote a book in 2002 called The Coming Collapse of China. Okay, China hasn't collapsed. The problem in the West is that they had a wrong theory of China. They thought that China's economy should not succeed. When the facts went against that, instead of examining the facts and saying, well, why is our theory wrong? We predicted that China's economy would not grow. There would be a big disaster in China. Our theory was wrong, therefore what's wrong with our theory? They attempt to deny the facts. They say our theory is right, China hasn't really grown, or China hasn't really improved its social conditions, or perhaps if they can't get away with that, because China's had the world's most rapidly growing economy for the last 38 years, they say, well, it's about to collapse. It will collapse next year. And then when it doesn't collapse next year, they'll say that it'll collapse the year later, right? That's not got nothing to do with science, and it's what I call fantasy literature.
I think the modernization of the Chinese economy, driven by Chinese leadership since Deng Xiaoping, the great Deng Xiaoping, has been the most successful revolution in world history. Yeah, the biggest change is that China has had the year after year of high economic growth. Back when I was watching the emergence of Deng Xiaoping and his reforms, nobody expected that right through the 90s and into this century, China would have such a run of success. No one expected that. No hard landing, no economic collapse, public support for hard measures like the reforms of the state sector in the 1990s. I mean, nobody could have expected such success. And when I hear people, especially Americans, say it's all going to come to an end, China will fall into stagnation, I say, you've been saying that for 20 years and it hasn't happened.
Well, China basically defies many of these predictions that if you don't reform your political system, then you will collapse. And if you don't reform your economic system in the way they want, further marketization, then you will encounter a lot of problems. But on the other hand, this kind of predictions of doom may underestimate the resiliency of the present system in responding to this crisis or these issues that accumulate from the lack of reform. Eventually, generally, they are able to deal with some part of these issues, some of them completely gone, and then later, of course, other new issues come out, they are also able to respond. Having said that, the China's model is unique in that sense that it is able to basically today propel China to the state it is today, and we cannot say that it is a failure. In a way, China is really successful in combining what it learns from the world and its own considerations of national conditions and other things. The communist rule so far in the way that it rebuilt the states, regenerate the economy, and then basically giving people's the Chinese people's certain sense of confidence and in their own country. So in this sense, it's doing great.
Actually, the party is become so strong. So that's why I tell scholars, if you look to understand China, you have to look at those facts first. Don't you should not have a ideology biased perspective toward China. What Deng Xiaoping mentioned in 实事求是, right? This you have to take choice from facts, right? So you have to look into facts first, then you can have a judgment.